Welcome to Preview GABCON, your firsthand look at the educational sessions we will be hosting at GABCON 2023. I'm your host, Hannah Osborne, and today I'm joined by Dr. Amanda Bright, host of News and Media Session, Innovation in the Digital Age. Dr. Bright, thank you so much for joining me today. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your session?
Sure. Hi, Hannah. So I'm excited to be back at GABCon. I've been doing sessions for several years. My passion and purpose is to help radio and TV stations grow their audiences, diversify their audiences through digital products and platforms. And so I actually have 4 different ways that I'll be bringing during this session that I can partner with stations, or I can have our students at the University of Georgia partner with stations in order to do that. But our real goal, in my background, I come from community journalism and community media, and we run news organizations here at the University of Georgia. But our goal is to really break open the possibilities when it comes to digital innovation in order to not only maintain the legacy platforms that are so important to us in our stations, but also expand and really try to diversify the types of people that we're reaching and the types of communicating that we're doing.
And how can fellow broadcasters or even aspiring broadcasters benefit from this session?
So I think part of it is that we've got a kind of a buffet of options. So I'm going to talk about 2 programs, one called Digital Natives and one called the Innovation Fellows, that their purpose is to send a student who is digitally savvy into their newsrooms or their stations for a period of time in order to accomplish very specific digital goals. And so that is all about taking you from where you are now to where you want to be in a very practical, hands-on, and specific way. So we love that we can kind of meet stations where they're at. So I think broadcasters really like that program. It's also free to the station. We have money that pays the students to do this work. So that's always a huge bonus. Potential broadcasters as well. One of the other half of what I'm going to be talking about is digital strategy. And I do this through 2 methods. One is we have a digital strategy guide that we just launched for GAB members. It is really pretty comprehensive, but it's pretty easy to understand and lots of examples. And so I want to talk through the resource that digital strategy guide gives stations to like just improve one little area or just try one new thing. But as well, we're offering free consultations with me. And so I can talk to stations not only at GABCon, but also any other time through the miracle of technology and just help them think through, what do I need to do next? Or what would be best for our station? Or how do we reach younger audiences? And so along that buffet of 4 options, I think there's probably going to be something that works for just about every station or broadcaster.
Right. And why is it so important to adapt to the digital needs in the current modern age?
It's a fabulous question. You know, I think it's sometimes scary. It was for me at the beginning of my career, to think about learning an entire new technology or platform or product, to think about doing things differently than we have done. But we know from data, we know from personal experience that most people are getting their news and information and entertainment through digital products. And so it's not about making wholesale change as much as taking the amazing work we already do at these stations and just packaging it for where people's eyeballs already are, which is on their phones, on their computers, on apps, in email newsletters, on social media. The raw material is already there. We already have stations that do great work with audio and video and storytelling and community events. That's what we want to keep. But we want to make sure that those wonderful things are reaching the right people, new people, different people, expanded audiences. So the few minutes that we always have where we're like, what do we do? My first impulse is always to say, let's start small. Let's try one thing that makes sense for your market, your audience, and your station. And then we can slowly build from there.
What challenge do you think that this session is going to help broadcasters take on?
Yeah, I think part of it, and I think GAB President Bob Houghton says this a lot, it's just a huge thing, the digital world, right? It's this huge rock, huge iceberg, whatever metaphor you want to use. And it feels often that we have to like do it all. We have to put stuff on all the social media platforms, that we quick get on TikTok, quick do an email newsletter, and again, that would not be what I advocate for. I believe in quality over quantity. And I also know that your station is limited in resources, personnel, time. Um, so I'm really into being very specific and targeted into what we do and how we do it, and helping individual stations figure out what they need in order to enter in or be successful in the digital spaces where they should be. And then from there, see what happens. It's really ultimately a low risk endeavor, because there's so much experimentation and innovation in the digital space that you could try different things. You don't have to put in tons of money and resources before you figure out this works or this doesn't work. And so I hope that stations feel empowered to innovate, to think outside the box, maybe try something they never tried, because I think that this is the perfect moment for that.
Do you have an example of just one of these small ways that broadcasters can use so that they can look forward to gaining more at GABCON?
Sure. Yeah. We've had innovation fellows and digital natives do lots of different little projects that have been really useful. One that we started, and actually this has happened to several stations, radio and TV, where they just really focused on the platform Instagram. We know social media doesn't really make us money. We know that social media, like, there's not a direct ROI. And so really what investing in social media is about building awareness and building a brand and a personality that people feel like is part of their lives and they can connect with, and that you can give them a sense of what value your station has for their daily life. And so through Instagram stories, reels, carousel posts, using audio, video, really well designed graphics and text, we have seen stations that essentially mostly are in the 40 plus, 50 plus demographic for their audience reach down into teens, 20s, even 30s to grab more of an audience share for a younger audience. And I think obviously that's something broadcasters want for longevity, but also to really, get the scope of an area or a topic or a genre, and target those younger viewers too. And so we've had a lot of success doing that. Another example that I think has turned out particularly well at several stations is just being really consistent with branding across digital products. So sometimes people have created like a website or a certain account here or there, and they're not necessarily using the same fonts, logos, styles. And we know from a consumer standpoint, from an audience standpoint, branding is super important because it's recognition. I can see that logo for your radio station from like 50 feet and be like, oh my gosh, yes, right, it's 106.1. So I think that there's a consistency our students can bring in visual brand across digital products, and also consistency in schedule and posting. So they're really good about looking from 30,000 feet and saying, okay, you need to not post to Facebook 50 times a day. Instead, let's do it 2 times a day, but make it really, really good and engaging and purposeful. And then use some of that other time to really experiment on this other product. So that's another big success story we've had at several radio and TV stations, just with consistency and branding.
Why should people and broadcasters of all ages come to GABCON 2023?
So first of all, it's going to be at Jekyll this year, so that's fun. So I'm excited about that myself. Not that I don't love Atlanta, but it's going to be fun to be close to the ocean. I think that this is a moment when broadcasters, but local journalists of all types, and communicators, people in entertainment, people doing information for communities, need to be in solidarity. We know that there's lots of pressures facing our industry. And they seem scary, but they're not insurmountable. In fact, with the collective wisdom and experience and ideas of people at a situation or an event like GABCON, we're going to be able to brainstorm and think through some things that are going to be able to move our industry forward and help it flourish. We know people need reliable stations in their lives. They need reliable news and information in their communities. And so we have purpose. It's just a matter of bringing together all of these different ideas and saying, okay, what should we be doing? How should we be doing it? And how can we do it together to be successful? I know often broadcasters and journalists of all types tend to be, combative or competitive. But I think we're in a different moment now. And so I think an event like GABCon is going to be an opportunity and a moment to come together and do what's best for our audiences.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Dr. Bright, and I cannot wait to see you at GABCon.
Me too, Hannah. Thanks so much.